You spoke about engagement. We know at FranklinCovey through some of our own research and the introduction of our new leadership course, the 4 Essential Rules of Leadership, that it's not true that leaders drive engagement. It sounds good on paper, but leaders don't drive engagement. What leaders do, however, is create conditions of engagement, high or low, so that people then can choose their level of engagement. Talk about how execution relates to setting the conditions for people to choose a higher level of engagement.
All right, I'm going to go. It's going to feel a little off script, but I've been thinking about this week. Do you remember the tomato plant exercise from principle-centered leadership? You got to go way back.
1980.
Stephen Covey used to do this. He'd get a group of executives in the room, and he'd get them into tables, and it almost started to feel like a competition. And he'd say, give me your list for creating a world-class tomato. We're gonna see how creative you guys are. So for 10, 15 minutes, he would milk them for all the things they were gonna do to create a world-class tomato. Stalks and greenhouses and chemicals and fertilizer, and they'd try and outdo themselves on these lists. And then he'd let them all kind of play back what they had, and then he'd ask them one question, and it would change the whole tone of the meeting. He would say, can you guarantee the growth of the tomato? And they'd all sort of look at each other, and they'd all go, no. And he'd say, why not? And they would give him the answer, and the answer was, because the life is in the seed. And his point was, as a leader, your job, it's exactly what you just said, Scott, your job is to create the conditions for engagement. You are not God, right? You can't put in what God left out. You're the gardener. And this, I thought, was the most beautiful, sometimes it was the most profound impact that these type A hard-driving executives would take. They could be type A around creating the conditions. And this is what we found by accident. I swear to you, you know this, we weren't clever.
No.
We weren't at all. Like FranklinCovey's got all this great stuff that inspires engagement. And we were the business side of the FranklinCovey continuum. But we started to see these spikes in engagement. And we started to recognize it wasn't when you launched the disciplines. It was the first time that the lead measure started to move the lag. And we said, well, what's that indicative of? They're winning. So you go back to Frederick Hertzberg in the 60s, right? He called it the progress principle. The number one driver of morale and engagement is whether a person feels they're winning at something that matters. And so we ask leaders this question: do the people who work for you feel like they are playing a winnable game? They don't have to be winning on everything. They could be getting their butts kicked on 80% of what's going on, but somewhere in there, they have to have something they can win at. Futility is the enemy of the human soul. You read Frankl's work, Man's Search for Meaning. The thing that scared him more than death, more than losing his family, was that his life wasn't going to matter. That book teaches that the human soul
the value of meaning,
has an allergic reaction. That's right.